Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Empowering Student Ambassadors, the relaunch of our innovative training and engagement app. And as you can see, today's webinar is generously sponsored by Burlington English, and we have with us Robert Breitbart today, who's going to say a few words. Robert?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Bonnie, and to all of our friends in COABE land. So glad you're with us today. You're in for a real treat. Erin does such a fantastic job, and I love this. I love this topic. Andragogy at its best, really empowering students. And one of the great things as we bask in the fantastic glow of COABE, the 2023 in Atlanta last week, is that I got a chance to hear so many people all during the conference rave about how much they love our Burlington core. And I heard time and time again, it has it all. And for today's topic, what I love is that you don't have to run and get separate, resources to cover the topic of civics. And really, that's in so many ways rights and responsibilities that we have in our community, in our state, in our country. And with Burlington Core, we've got it all in one place. And so again, for your core resource to reach your students, both in class or online, the asynchronous work they do, just know that everything to get your students truly empowered to be incredible members of their community, like you see on the screen, is all in our Burlington core. So particularly those of you engaged in IELCE, Section 243 of WIOA, just know we've got you 100% covered for everything you need to really infuse civics, whether it's in your general program or IELCE. And as you've seen on the screen, we have fantastic citizenship prep as well. So whether it's Burlington Core or career exploration and soft skills, our English for specific careers, digital literacy, exam preparation, digital library, gosh, we'd love to show it to you. And I've got scores and scores of friends in the company who would love to do that, just that. So please reach out to us at burlingtonenglish.com/contact, and we'd love to show you core and all that we can help you do to empower your students. So with that, turn it back over to Mr. Bonnie. Thank you.
Robert, thank you so much. You're a great partner to COABE and to the field of adult education, and we appreciate you. So thank you. All righty, our presenter today is Erin Vobornik. Erin has been involved with COABE as a SAFE Fellow and co-host of our Advocast podcast since 2021. Now, as our Students as Leaders coordinator, Erin engages with adult education students, faculty, and programs to create and refine tools for student engagement and leadership. As an adult education teacher herself, Erin collaborates with others in the field to promote advocacy from the ground up. Known for her eagerness to connect with people from all walks of life around the nation, Erin's innovative spirit brings life to this position. And that's so true. So you can say hello to her in the chat box. Let us know where you're calling in from today. And if you have questions, you can feel free to submit those in the Q&A box. And with that, I'll turn it over to Erin. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for that introduction. Just so nobody thinks, wow, Erin's really vain. I did not write that. But that is lovely. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many folks here who are clearly interested in student leadership. And so my name is Erin Vobornik. I am COABE's Students as Leaders Coordinator. I was a Cohort 1 SAFE Fellow, the State Advocate for Adult Education Fellow from Illinois. And I'm an adult education instructor and have been for the past decade. And I mention these three hats because I'll approach this webinar from those three angles. So the angles of leadership, advocacy, and learning. And Trying something new today. So I'm going to try a new type of interaction. So please feel free to continue using the chat function if that is your preferred method of engagement. But I wanted to offer an alternative as well. I know I struggle sometimes when there's a lot of action in the chat with seeing what everybody's written. Sometimes it can be a bit challenging because it's just like a waterfall of ideas. So if you want to engage in a different way, you can use your phone by scanning this QR code. And if you're not familiar with QR codes, you basically open the camera function on your phone, hold it up to this QR code, and you should see a little bar pop up underneath. Or you can open a new tab and go to menti.com and enter that code. It'll be on the top of every page. So if you do choose that you want to change your engagement style later throughout, you'll be able to see it. And I'll make sure that I save the contributions that people share through this format so that it can be distributed later as well, because I think we're definitely going to want to keep a grasp on those wonderful ideas. So I love seeing where everyone is from, but I'll also be perfectly honest, in states that are not Illinois, sometimes I don't know where in the state people are from. So if you're choosing to engage through this menti.com, you can actually pin on the map where you are from. And I'm going to put that in the chat in case you do want to copy and paste it with the code. Okay. It's fun watching these pop up. And as you're looking at this map, you might be wondering, well, Erin, why did you choose this specific one? Is it because we've got the names of the states and um, you're not good at identifying what states are where, and I'm not, but that's not the reason I chose this. And I'll explain in just a minute once we look at the next map, because you'll notice there are a lot of different colors on this map. Well, there are 3 different colors. Any guesses of what that color coding indicates? And yeah, this is one of those webinars where I'm going to ask you to do stuff. Okay, so let's look. We've got some fun pins. I see some Midwest states are, 3 colors for the 3 different hats. Who's doing in the ambassadorship? Yes, Jennifer, ding, 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 you win. It is color coding that shows you if your state has participated in ambassador training and to what degree that ambassador training has been engaged in. So it might mean that there's some ambassador participation. That means you're in green. Entire states that have participated are going to be in the orange color, and in blue, if you're from a state that has blue, that means we don't yet have ambassadors in your state. So there's a great opportunity to get the color of your state changed by engaging some learners in ambassadorship. And the next thing we're going to talk about in this webinar is, well, what is ambassadorship? I do want to point out on this map that if you're saying, ooh, my state is orange or it's green, I want to connect with all of the learners who are from those states. I will say some of them are no longer active. As you can imagine, in adult education, we have people who come in for a purpose and they stay sometimes just for a short amount of time before they move on in their careers or move to a different state, move on in their journey or their educational path. So that's why it's always good to continue to build momentum with this, because we do understand that our learners won't necessarily always be here with us. So before we get started, either in the chat or on your phone or however you are engaging, I want to throw this question to you. Why is adult learner leadership important? So you came here today because you value it in some way. So why is it important? Let's look at these answers as they pop up. Okay, because they know stuff. Great to empower students. It's important because shared experience is the best way to encourage other learners to join, continue their journey, lead by example. Yes, I completely agree with the note here that students are those directly impacted by our services and their voices matter most. Absolutely. And as I said, I'm going to save all of these answers that are coming in up here and in the chat, because I really want to um, have these someplace so that we can refer back to them, because fostering student leadership, fostering student ambassadorship does take time and it takes effort. And so having this um, to look at and to reflect on can sometimes be what motivates us, what heals us to keep doing this work. Fantastic. Well, I am excited. I hope you are excited here. Okay. So I want to highlight the fact that it is Advocacy April. And it's only a week after the conference. I hope anyone who was there in person or virtually that you are rested up. And it's also the same month that the program Succeed When Learners Lead edition of the COABE journal has been released. So we have a lot of focus right now on student leadership, and we want to keep that focus going, because a key component of our advocacy efforts should be our student voice. And we might be about halfway through the month. But perhaps for Advocacy April, the step you want to take is the first step in growing your student ambassadors or starting a student ambassador initiative at your program or state. Oh, great. And I do see another comment that came through the Q&A. We are a reflection of our community and as strong as our community. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, so just to highlight kind of where this is coming from. So if you have not yet completed your conference evaluation and downloaded that free copy of the COABE journal, I highly recommend that you do, because there's a wonderful article in there by Sharon Bonney and Regina Soot um, about kind of this graphic you see here, about the phases of the Students as Leaders initiative. And it gives a bit of background into the birth of the ambassador training. The ambassador training was homegrown in Arizona after, and correct me if I'm wrong, Regina, after years of no funding. It helped to mobilize student voice, to bring student voice to the forefront, and actually ended with funding being secured. 3.5 years, that's a long time. Right, with that funding being secured, and just either a raise of hands in the, I guess you can't raise your hand in the chat, or just a yes if you are in a state where you've ever had a situation where there hasn't been funding or there has not been a funding increase. A quick yes in the chat if you've felt that. Yeah. It's not a good position to be in, right? We really don't like being there. And so one of the things to consider here is that by implementing a student ambassador training now, um, fostering it now, especially if you're in a state where things are fairly comfortable, that by mobilizing folks now, you have a team ready when you need them. Because I'm from a state where we have had a budget impasse that lasted almost 800 days, where no funds were released. And it was a challenge to mobilize folks to speak up because things were so chaotic. So COABE heard about the ambassador training that was happening in Arizona and adopted it for a national audience. And it was launched asynchronously back in 2021. So in 2023, right now, it is currently being revised and relaunched in May, but it is available online. Not much is going to change. It's just going to try to further engage learners in the app, which you'll hear about in the second half of this webinar. So today I'm going to be discussing, I'll also be discussing that engagement app to really bring learners together. But a bit more information in case you're saying, okay, you've said ambassador training about 15 times, Erin, but what is it and what is included? So today I'm going to focus on the asynchronous free online ambassador training. There is also potential for live ambassador trainings. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can reach out to me. But I wanted to start with kind of the first natural step, which is to look at what is out there already in the asynchronous training. So it consists of 5 modules. There's an orientation that helps participants, again, focused on our adult learners, prepare for the training, get logged into the app, and to really understand what they need to do to be successful. So kind of like an orientation. The next module is about awareness. It focuses on adult education data, where to find that data, the importance of advocacy, and that magic advocacy formula of data and a story. And if you weren't aware that that's the magic formula, it is. You are more than welcome as faculty, staff, or administrators, program directors, state directors to engage in that ambassador training as well. The third module is focused on storytelling. So learners or participants will refine their story through the guided lesson. And by the end of that module, they will actually have their completed story ready to share with a wider audience. And then sharing your story is by helping to prepare participants with the reality of sharing one story. So not to sugarcoat, you share your story and everybody loves it and everybody lives happily ever after. But considering the fact that maybe there are other players in your story besides yourself, and kind of thinking through, you know, if you're sharing other people's story in your story, how to connect with them and really ensure that everybody's on the same page about what you're going to share. And then finally, meeting with people who have influence. And this might be something that we as practitioners might want to know as well, because it provides details of what to expect in a meeting with legislators or community leaders, those people who have influence to make a direct change. It includes meeting protocol, meeting etiquette. And there's also a portion about how to redirect a meeting when things get off track that might be of particular interest to some of our English language learners who say, okay, well, how do I, somebody's answering a question I didn't ask, how do I guide this conversation back in a polite and respectful way? Okay. By the end of the training, participants will be prepared to engage in advocacy and outreach events on behalf of your adult education program, on behalf of themselves and other learners. And here I'm sharing, this is a photo of a woman I know very well on the right. Her name is Aurora Aguirre of Illinois. She's presenting a COABE Legislative Champion Award to State Senator Christina Castro during the National Adult Education Family Literacy Week in 2022. And Aurora was directly affected by legislation that Senator Castro proposed to the Illinois General Assembly and was passed. And it was far more meaningful for Aurora to be there and to present that award than for me as a SAFE fellow or the current SAFE fellow. We all went with her to support her. But it was really a moment for a learner to be able to advocate and do that outreach because she was directly affected positively by the changes that were made in our state. So as a result of opportunities like this, Aurora has actually engaged in further learner leadership initiatives at the local program that I work at. So she's really stepped up into a leadership role. She is no longer currently enrolled in adult education classes. She has successfully transitioned to community college credit classes with a focus on business, but she remains engaged, giving feedback on our program and how we can better connect with our learners because she's had that opportunity to advocate, to do outreach, and to be a leader. So I'm highlighting this to show that the ambassador training really does um, it really does create an opportunity and a path to leadership for learners who are engaged, for learners who have that passion um, to make a difference. And Aurora has often said to me, I didn't see myself as a leader. She saw herself as a mom. She saw herself as working a job that she wasn't passionate about, but she didn't see herself as a leader, and now she does. And she said, and now that I see myself in that position, I can't stop. And, she's going to go on to do amazing things. And I'm confident that she will forever be an advocate of adult education, even when she is, potentially my boss. So, what are the ways that you can engage in ambassador training? So, it can be embedded within an existing class curriculum. This is something that I have done within my own classes as a teacher, um, given some class time for students to do that orientation, to get familiar with it, and then to bring in discussion questions related to things that they see in the ambassador training. And if you're a teacher who says, "Ooh, I like that, I want to use that," I will have and actually do have those discussion questions available that I will share out to any teachers who want to use them. That way you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? I believe in sharing that knowledge, sharing what works, and so that we can all grow. I know some programs have sometimes offered it as an extracurricular, right? You can do this in addition to your class, but you have a cohort that you work with. I've also heard that some programs have offered it as an actual class. I do want to say that is something that has to be run up the ladder, especially within particular states, because a lot of that will be impacted by your state director and the policies at the state level. that you follow for class funding, and things like that. So it can also be provided as a statewide training. So shout out to Indiana that just recently did a student ambassador training at the statewide level, um, and brought many of their learners to the conference in Atlanta. If you missed those sessions as soon as they're up in Hoover, I highly recommend you check out the Students as Leaders strand, because those the students did just an absolutely phenomenal job. So at the statewide training, oftentimes it's in conjunction with the statewide conference that there is that in-person training. Students have the chance to ask questions, to get to know each other. The benefit of that is you get that community that sometimes can be challenging to get in an asynchronous online format. And maybe you say, Erin, I really want to do this, but I'm a part-time teacher, part-time staff. We have a teacher shortage. We are underfunded. I don't have the capacity to do this, but oh man, I really want to. You can always refer students to me, and I am more than happy to help them through it, to help be that facilitator. If you say, I know someone who would really benefit from this and they really want to get involved, but I just cannot take that on myself at this time. Um, at the end of this presentation, I'll share my email address. Send students my way, um, and I can reach out to them, or they can reach out to me, and we'll make sure that they get the training that they want so that they can engage and help build out that leadership. I do want to note that eventually the goal is that this will grow so wonderfully that student ambassadors will act as mentors for each other. Um, to grow it to that point, we need those active participants first. Um, and just shortly, we'll talk about how the Students as Leaders app is really going to help foster that engagement, and I believe is going to be a way for that mentorship to grow organically. But before we get to the app, I want to open it up for some questions. So again, in the chat, in the Zoom Q&A, in the Mentimeter Q&A, any way that you want to ask a question, please feel free. Okay. Well, if you have any questions throughout, it's never too late to ask. Oh, thank you, Patrick. And I understand sometimes I'm somebody that needs some processing time. I need to think about things. And I usually say, I don't have any questions. And then about 2 hours later, I have 25 questions that I need to ask. Again, I'll share my email at the end. I am always happy to get questions. So yes, those trainings are online. And I can show you where to find those. And I will show that. Also see how will it affect our current ambassadors. So um, how will what affect our current ambassadors? So I could think of this two ways. Maybe it's the updated training launching. It would not affect current ambassadors. Anybody who is an ambassador, and that will not change. But if that's not the question that you were asking, please feel free to ask again. And Hallett, I see, is there a way for teachers to do this training as well? Absolutely. I will share that link in the chat. And once you sign up for the training, it will ask for your role. So you can choose admin, staff, instructor, or student/alumni. So yes, you can absolutely complete that training. And in fact, if you're recommending it to students, I recommend that you look through it as well and engage in it. Approximate number of total hours for the training. I would estimate it at 5 hours for the entire training, um, for all modules. And of course, that is um, that can change depending on the kind of the level of English proficiency. It's written at an NRS 3-4 level, so that's like ESL low intermediate. Students who are below that level might they can certainly engage in it, but it might take a little bit longer. How long is the training process? Oh, hi, Margarina. One of our rock star student presenters from New York. So the training process, yep, you go in, you do those online modules, approximately a total of 5 hours, and then you'll receive your ambassador certificate. And so, Darla, the time commitment for actually being an ambassador after that 5-hour training is that there's no required commitment. They will hear about opportunities to engage, opportunities to advocate, and they can be reached out to by our SAFE fellows to go to legislative meetings and visits. There is no requirement. It's not like volunteer hours where they need to complete a certain list of things to stay active. Because again, we know we're adults with really busy lives, and so there might be periods of time where they are more active and when they're not. The main roles of an ambassador is just to speak on behalf of adult education, to help promote it. And again, that looks the way that ambassador wants it to look. So we will reach out to them in terms of sharing that information on a national level, but they're also able to do that within their own programs, right? Their advocacy might be going to their administrators and saying, hey, the way that you have this set up is not working for students. So they might actually be advocating to you. And then Norma, wonderful. How can we engage and move forward with this training? I will post a link directly to the page where you can sign up for the training, and I'll do that in just a minute once I stop sharing my screen. Completely free, Norma. 100% free. Okay. Is there a stipend for students who choose to engage? Currently, we do not have that, but that has been some feedback that I have seen, and that would be a wonderful thing to build out, especially if it turns into students mentoring other students. But currently, it is a volunteer opportunity to gain those advocacy and leadership skills. Okay, I love questions. All right, so I'm going to introduce you here because we're going to shift slightly to another means of engaging learners in leadership, advocacy, and learning, which is the Students as Leaders app. Did you know we have an app for learners to use? It is the best kept secret, but we want it to be a secret no longer. So to tell you more about this app, I'm going to introduce Tabitha Barron of WorkReadyMobile, the company behind the platform that we're using. So she can give the really detailed ins and outs of how it works. And I just want to highlight that, as we said, we hope that this kind of evolves organically. I see this app as being the place where it can grow, where learners can connect with each other. And again, where we anticipate it might grow could be completely different than what actually happens, because it's meant to be a place for learners. Um, and so really the learners will decide where this app leads. Okay, so I am going to turn this over to Tabitha. I will keep answering questions in the chat as she is going. Um, And let me stop sharing my screen, Tabitha, so that you can, do you want to take over and share your screen, or shall I share this one for now?
So I'll just go ahead and briefly go over
Perfect.
the portal. So I'll go ahead and I guess I'll share my screen.
All right.
So hello, everybody. This is very exciting. Everybody's all ready. Okay, so I can share with you that if you can all see my screen, it actually shows COABE on the screen for WorkReadyMobile. So WorkReadyMobile is a platform that allows everyone to effectively communicate with their cohorts, their participants, and different things like that. The beauty of all of this absolutely is the fact that you have one area to send messages to anybody and everybody who's in your cohort. You have the ability to manage any users that are actually there. And then you're actually able to see who's sitting in your cohort and figure out where everyone is and what they're doing. For users, if we just go and take a look, I'm gonna see if I can find mine. Because every once in a while, nope. I don't know, sometimes, not me today. So we'll just go to ambassadors. So as an ambassador, you're able to, I just want you to be able to see, here, I'm gonna borrow this person here. You're gonna be able to see what class they're in, the different things that they can do. So our cohorts, I'm sorry, they're different organizations use different names. So the cohort they're in, what notifications they have, the goals in order to support them and their journey, documents that they may need for later on, notes so that you can go back and forth between the administrators to determine what additional information may be available, attendance in any of the classes, assessments according to what is needed. And then of course you have the message history. I like a lot of this because at the end of the day, it provides you one point of entry. So my thought with this is always that when you start students off in one place to communicate, that's the place that they're going to want to continue to come back to, because that's the only place you'll communicate. So like I was telling Erin before, it's very funny because if you ever remember that movie, He's Not That Into You. Remember when Drew Barrymore says, I used to be a time in which I could only go to one area just to be rejected. But now I have to go to multiple platforms just to find my rejection, right? So with WorkReadyMobile, that kind of just pulls everything all into one area so that that's one area to communicate your scores, your tests, your documents, whatever you need. And that information is coming directly through to you through push notifications, SMS, and email. And all of that can be done in here. And we also have areas where you can actually link any of that stuff in. Erin, if you can go ahead and bring up the next slide. I lost Erin. So at the end of the day, when we look at this, the benefits of sharing this with your students are engaging the WorkReadyMobile platform the way you would. The benefits of doing that is one point of entry. Like I said, one area to get all of your communication and all of your assessments and whatever you need in order to go to your next step. Student engagement across the United States. So it does not necessarily mean that you have to be in the state of Texas or in the state of Utah in order to communicate. You can communicate across the nation without a problem. Direct line of communication to any of your learners, and they have the opportunity to go ahead and use your calendar link in this app in order to schedule a time with you based on your availability. And one of the things that is most important for students is goal setting. At the end of the day, all goals that we have, as long as they're here, they remain dreams until we put them on paper. They become a reality, right? So the goal setting allows each of your students and participants to actually create a goal that's specific to them, whether that's career, personal, or are financial, they'll be able to create those goals, and you as their advisor or leader will be able to assist them in reaching their goals, because at that point you're able to see that and you're able to help assist them in finding the next steps in order to accomplish the things that they want. So those are the things that I think that are really important. Can you hit the next slide? If I can ask you all to go ahead and scan this QR code and go ahead and sign up as an ambassador to WorkReadyMobile. We're going to see you all of a sudden show up in here. I would like you to go ahead and finish just signing up and then verifying, confirming your email so that you can begin the process. And during the rest of this time that we have together, I'll be sending different messages here and there so you can actually see how the app works. I think this has been an awesome experience. And since I have joined the company, it has actually been I've watched where it has been extremely helpful in bridging gaps of communication between ESL students and native speakers, as well as being able to keep up to date with everything that's going on. So I thank you very much for inviting me here, Erin. You are awesome. And I look forward to seeing people load up. So I'm over here waiting, and you'll see me because I'm going to send you messages.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tabitha. So I did put a flyer in the chat, and just to highlight a copy of the presentation as a PowerPoint, as well as that flyer will be sent up in the follow-up email to this webinar as well. So you'll have access to them. And that the flyer has a QR code, that same QR code. So as you get in and you start poking around and seeing the potential in there, that you can share it with your learners. And tonight, I will be teaching a class. I'll be sharing this flyer with my learners, getting them in there. So there will be some people in there waiting to talk because my group is chatty.
Okay, so I want to answer this one question.
Great.
So the QR code links goes to the login page. You're correct. So you're gonna go and do sign up, not sign in. So it's sending you there so you can see that it is COABE, and that's the one we want you to go into. But we want you to also sign up, not sign in.
Yes, so it is a platform that learners will need to register for, and part of that is just to help keep it a safe space, so that it's not a completely public open forum, because students might be sharing their stories, they might be sharing pictures. And yes, it is called WorkReadyMobile, but you will see that COABE logo on there that tells you that, hey, you are there. You'll register as an ambassador. Let's see. So it looks like we've got some questions in the chat. If you want to hop back on, Tabitha, or if you want to answer, there you go. She's answering in the chat. She's got you covered. And this is why I love doing this as a teacher, so that I can always see, like, hey, what am I going to have to help my students with through here? I do want to address a question that Patrick posted in the Q&A. It says, how have you helped encourage learners who are often scared or timid to speak publicly? And so the wonderful thing about that ambassador training is it gives all of that the foundation, and then encouraging people to actually speak publicly is more about confidence and creating a safe space. So what I've done with my learners, I have one student who's gone through the ambassador training. She's been selected as my college's speaker at our ESL transition event for students who are moving on in their journey in adult education. And so part of helping to encourage her to speak publicly is to practice, essentially. So if you have learners who say, I'm still nervous, I did this training, I'm still super nervous, that is what I am here for. Again, we don't have capacity to do everything. And so consider me a partner in building student leadership and student advocacy, you can reach out to me, and I will um, kind of play along. We can act out what a meeting might look like. They can practice their speech. And I've actually taught ESL speech classes, like public speaking classes. So I am more than happy to help with that portion. But really, it's practice. And then the biggest thing to reduce it is actually going out there and getting that experience. Because once a learner speaks to somebody once, they have that empowerment to keep going. They realize they can do it. Okay. Oops, I'm just making sure. I see. So the cohort code, I know that Tabitha is in there, hopping in and helping people through that. Mhm. So a wonderful test of how to how to get people into the app. So as you're working on that, and this is a wonderful, this is great that I'm seeing this now, because I will revise that flyer to make sure we have that cohort code and maybe some instructions for our learners at AMBCOM, like ambassador community, going forward. So again, I just want to highlight part of what's kind of the main things we have here. So ambassador training and that Students as Leaders app is going to help learners use their voice for change. And again, that depends on what change they see. So there have been a lot of questions on like what are ambassadors expected to do? They're just expected to use their voice for change. And because I am not an adult learner, I can't tell anybody what that should or could look like. But I've had student ambassadors from my state, or particularly from my program, using their voice for change internally to our program, using their voice in legislative meetings or legislative rallies through our state association, and of course completing like the advocacy alerts, those 3 clicks, engaging on the national level. That app will help to build community with learners across the nation, because again, we have learners who are super excited about leadership, but maybe they're the only 3 in that program who are. And so being able to connect with others across the nation is beneficial. And I can say from my personal standpoint of having engaged in the student or state advocate for adult education fellowship, where I got to talk to people across the nation, it really helped me to grow having that community. It helped me to stay motivated. And man, it gave me great ideas about different ways to engage and how our states look different. I should be grateful for some things in my state, but I should also maybe push to be more like a different state. And of course, it helps learners to connect with those COABE initiatives. So as a teacher, program manager, you might constantly feel like you have to be the connective tissue between all of the amazing initiatives that COABE has for learners and the learners themselves. Once students are in that app, they get that communication directly. So you don't have to worry about, oh, did I mention the skills build? Did I mention Amazon? Did I mention the ambassador training? All of that information will come directly to them. So that can be something you take off of your plate. All right. So we've got some people in Mentimeter, but if you are not in Mentimeter, you can enjoy the music and you can answer in the chat. You can tell I'm a teacher because I like to make sure we have an assessment, right? Right. And I'm gonna get this started. If you are ready to play, let's start this quiz. I'm sorry, the points don't get you anything but brownie points. So what are some ways that COABE supports student leadership? Not an exhaustive list. But the student ambassador training, the Students as Leaders app, the Students as Leaders coordinator, me, or all of these? Wow, all are fast. All of these are ways that we support student leadership. And I know we had some folks who probably were, if you're like me when I play Kahoot, answer a little too quickly and then say, oh no, I meant it to be all of those. So again, I want to highlight the fact that I am here to help you in whatever way I can with the ambassador training, with that Students as Leaders app, and with discussing student leadership going forward. And something that will be coming up soon in the next few months is that I will have, I'll post something in COABE Connects that lets everyone know, but we'll have a Zoom meeting for any faculty, staff, state associations who are doing ambassador training and just want to kick around some ideas, work through some challenges, share some successes. That was a phenomenal idea that actually came from Becca Huntington at the COABE conference. She said, I'd love to be able to chat with others who are doing this. And then going forward, we'll also have meetings for student ambassadors only, where the students can actually share their stories, get to know each other, and have a space where they can really talk about what they want to do with their skills, with their leadership going forward as well. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. The trickiest thing about my email is making sure you spell my last name correctly. There's no C in there. So again, thank you for joining. I know you came because you care about learner leadership. Again, this is Advocacy April, so take the first step in growing our coalition with powerful learner voices. So offer that student ambassador training, connect learners with the app. We've kind of worked through the kinks of how to get in so we can support our learners better with that. And of course, reach out to me for personalized guidance on how to move forward or any ideas you have on ways that you could be better supported in learner leadership, whether that is as a learner or in any other way. And I can type and do that at the same time, but thank you, Regina. So again, I'm going to give you some words of wisdom that one of my state representatives shared with me in a legislative meeting. And he basically said, don't wait until you need voices to speak up for adult education. Right? You need to build the momentum now so that you have reliable advocacy and an outreach team whenever one is needed. So really, not only do programs succeed when learners lead, but our entire field will succeed and grow when our learners lead. And I want to give an extra special thank you for all of our adult learners who joined us today. If you're an adult learner, please give yourself a shout out in the chat. I know you can't see us clapping, but we are all clapping at home. Thank you again, everyone, and have a beautiful rest of your Thursday.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you, Tabitha, and thank you, Burlington English, for sponsoring today's webinar. What a wonderful presentation. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As you can see, a poll just popped up on your screen. If you could fill that out and answer that one question before you log off, I would greatly appreciate it. A replay of this webinar will be posted to our website within about 24 hours for those of you who missed it today, or for those of you who want to revisit it later. So once again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Burlington English. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Tabitha. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day and a wonderful weekend coming up. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.